Hello, and now for the Greek of Acts 20, 1 through 6. So we've just finished up in Acts 19, the riot at Ephesus, and that's where the story picks up at verse 1 of chapter 20. And after the riot to be ceased, so this is a meta infinitive construction, which is a temporal construction. It makes this an infinitive of time and subsequent time after the riot to have ceased. And so we bring that into English as kind of like after the riot ceased. This is an infinitive. 6 out of the 7 infinitive forms end in I. And the st has me thinking it's a middle or passive infinitive. And the sigma alpha has me thinking that it's an aorist infinitive. So this is an aorist middle infinitive from pau o mai. Oh, okay, it looks like it's deponent. Pretty sure that it's deponent. Oh, Pauo. I guess it's not deponent. And I didn't translate. I translated it as a passive, didn't I? But it's not passive because then it would have a theta eta. So after the riot to cease, itself to come to an end, there might be something special about the middle of this form, stop. But anyway, sometimes the middle you just go with the flow. So, okay, after the riot had ceased, Paul, having called the disciples and exhorted them, so this is metapempo. Psi is the key to a hidden sigma. So we have a hidden sigma alpha. This is aorist. Men are passive or middle participles. So this is metapempo, so it's middle, because there'd be a theta eta if it was passive. So this is aorist middle participle. Nominative masculine singular from metapempo, Paul having called the disciples and having exhorted them, sigma alpha aorist active indicative, aorist active participle, nominative masculine singular from parakaleo, having greeted them, or having, in this case, having greeted them goodbye, sigma alpha equals aorist, men are middle or passive. This is a spadzomai, so it's a deponent word, so it's verb, so it's aorist, middle deponent, participle, nominative masculine singular. Having greeted them, see the havings, having called them, having exhorted them, having greeted them, he went out to go into Macedonia. So elth is what tense? Aorist of erchomai, ex erchomai, aorist active indicative third singular. A nu with an epsilon in front of it is almost always a movable nu. Throw it away, except for men at the very end, which is first person plural, we. So this is epsilon is a very common third person singular past tense ending, active indicative. So this is aorist active indicative third singular from ex erchomai. He went out to go. This is peru omai, its deponent. So that's why it has the st, a middle or passive ending. 6 out of the 7 infinitive endings end in I. So this is a present, middle or passive deponent, infinitive from peru omai. He went out to go into Macedonia. Verse 2, and having gone through the parts, those parts, demonstrative pronoun, this is elth again. What is elth? Elth, see elth there because it has the augment. Elth without the augment. Elth is the aorist of erchomai. So this is de-erchomai. This is a nominative masculine singular participle, aorist active participle from de-erchomai. And having gone through those regions, those parts, and having exhorted, we just had that form, having exhorted them with much word. Good stuff, no doubt. This is not saying he talked a lot. Dative of means, I guess, by means of much word. He came into Greece, Helava. So elf again, elf. Here it's indicative, which is why it has the augment. No augments outside the indicative mood. So this is aorist active indicative third singular from erchomai. He came into Greece, verse 3. And having done 3 months, he's in jail, not really. The jail hypothesis is back in Ephesus. So this is a sigma alpha, so it's aorist. Aorist active participle, nominative masculine singular. We've seen the sauce. Sauce is a nominative masculine singular, aorist active indicative, aorist active participle. Sauce is a participle, aorist participle, nominative masculine singular. Having done 3 months, poieo, a plot having come to be against him. Dative of disadvantage, against, I think jumps out of this dative here. Genitive absolute, a noun in the genitive, epibule, a plot, and a participle in the genitive. This is from ginomai. It doesn't have the iota of gin, and therefore it's aorist. There are some other forms that have the gen too, but your first port of call would be aorist when you have gen. So it's an aorist middle participle. Men are passive or middle participles, and it's not passive because then it would have a theta eta or a theta epsilon. So this is a aorist middle deponent participle, genitive feminine singular, from ginomai. So a plot having aroused against him by the Jews while he was about to go up into Syria. Okay, so this is dative and this is dative. My aunt is an active participle, present active participle, dative masculine singular from mellow. The fact that it's dative singular tells me that it's matching Paul, which is here, him is against him, dative masculine singular, and this matches it. So it's a plot having come to be against him when he was about to go up into Syria. So you see how the fact that this matches this tells me who it's telling me about, because the participle is going to match the noun it goes with in case, number, and gender. Okay. Anago, this is again an infinitive, middle or passive, him about to go up into, to set sail, about to set sail, I guess, anago. It's middle, I would say. I don't know whether anago, maybe anago has a special meaning in the middle of setting sail. Okay, his purpose came to be in order to return through Macedonia. Okay, he was going to sail straight from Corinth to Syria, but he decides because of this plot, it's a sea plot apparently, that he's going to go back up around, back up around Macedonia. So this is again, what is this form? You should be able to parse it by now. We see it over and over again. What is it? Aorist, middle deponent, indicative, third singular from ginomai. Okay, a purpose came to be in order to return. This is a an infinitive of purpose. To with the infinitive. The genitive article with the infinitive expresses purpose or result. This is a plain old present active infinitive, ein. 6 out of 7 infinitives forms are I. The other one is ein. The first infinitive form you probably learn if you learn infinitive forms. So present active infinitive from hupostrepho. So he's going to return back through Macedonia. That wasn't the original plan. Okay, and Sopater of Pyrrhus, a Berean, accompanied him. Okay, dative of accompaniment. This is sun epo. No, it's sun epomai. Sun epomai. So this is the epsilon of ep here has been augmented into an ape. So this is the imperfect, believe it or not, of sunepo. Sunepomai. So it's a deponent form, imperfect, middle or passive deponent, indicative, third singular from sunepomai, accompanied, or was accompanying. Sopater was accompanying him. Of Pyrrhus, this is a genitive of relationship, usually translated Sopater, son of Pyrrhus. So this is the gift. I talked about this in the podcast. This group is carrying offerings from each of their churches to present to the Church of Jerusalem. And Aristarchus and Secundus of Thessalonica, and Gaius of Derbe, or Gaius the Derbean, and Timothy, who's from Lystra, and Tychicus and Trophimus, Asians, that is Ephesus, and surrounding regions. Verse 5, and these, demonstrative pronoun, having gone ahead, were remaining or were awaiting us at Troas. Here, as I mentioned in the podcast, Luke rejoins the group, us, and the we passages resume. This elf, what's elf? That's right, it's the aorist of Erchomai. So this is maiont is an active participle. This is an aorist active participle. S is nominative masculine plural from pros erchomai. Okay, is that right? Interesting. I think we may have a textual issue here because in my other Greek text, there's no sigma. It says pro erchomai. We pause for just a second. Indeed, there's a textual issue here. It looks like some of the stalwart manuscripts like Sinaiticus and Vaticanus read pros elephontes, which is what the particular SBL Greek New Testament text I have reads, which doesn't make as much sense as the other reading, which is pro elephontes, to go ahead. And it's read by P74, which is an older manuscript than Vaticanus and Sinaiticus, I believe. So there's a correction to Vaticanus. The third corrector hand corrects it to take the sigma out. The Western text, Beza, has it. Interesting. So to go ahead makes more sense in the context, but we tend to go with the more difficult reading as the one more original, suggesting that a copyist tried to correct problems. And so it could be that we have going ahead makes better sense, but that might suggest that proselthontes is more likely to be original. Well, what grade do they give it? They give this a C, which means that they're less certain that they've come up with the right reading than they are certain. Well, I'll stop there. Textual criticism is fun. Eminon is probably, it's imperfect because it would have internal lengthening if it was aorist. So this is imperfect active indicative, third plural. Verse 6. And then, but we, by contrast, little emphasis, because you don't really need the hey mace, right? You've got we and the men. Sigma alpha. So this is aorist active indicative, first plural from ekpluo, to sail out. We sailed out after the days of unleavened bread from Philippi, and we came, aorist active indicative first plural from erchomai, to them at Troas, basically 5 days later, where we remained 7 days. So they stayed 7 days at Troas. C is the key to hidden sigma alpha. So this is aorist active indicative first plural from diatribo, to spend some time. So tomorrow we'll pick up at Troas, where Paul's going to get to preaching. Somebody's going to fall out a window. So Lord willing, we'll see you tomorrow.